story begins in Canada. It is here in Quebec that our heroine was born, Dina Belanger, and this is her story. Dina was born on April 30th, 1897. Her parents were Octave Belanger and Séraphine Matte. Both were profoundly Christian. She was baptized the same day at St. Roch Church, receiving the names Marie Marguerite Dina Adelaide. Everyone called her Dina. She was an only daughter. Her parents gave their daughter a fine education, where love and piety ruled the home. From a young age, Dina learned from her parents to share, to give, to think of others. Dina was headstrong, she was sensitive, reserved and intelligent. In many ways, she was like other children, with her faults and behaviour needing correction. On May 2nd, 1907, at the age of 10, as was the custom in those days, Dina made her first Holy Communion, meaning that she was already a saint. She was not born a saint, but she learned very quickly to let God have His way. She was not a child prodigy, but from a young age was very faithful to God's grace. God was moulding her, and she let herself be moulded. When she was 6 years old, Dina began school with the Sisters of the Congregation of Notre Dame at the convent of St. Roch. She liked studying, applied herself diligently, and easily obtained good results. When she was 8 years old, she began piano lessons. She progressed rapidly, and when she was 11, she passed her first diploma. Her sensitive nature enabled her to love music in a special way. From the outset, it seemed that Dina was leading the life of an ordinary child, obedient to her parents, cheerful with other children, working well at school. She did not attract attention in any way. She asked to go to boarding school. Her parents accepted and registered her at the convent school of Bellevue, directed by the same sisters. Her musical talent opened the road which led her to the Music Conservatory of New York. This was at the end of 1960. Her parents chose her residence, Our Lady of Peace boarding home, directed by the Religious of Jesus and Mary. The peaceful atmosphere was favourable to serious work and to prayer. Dina progressed daily and was recognised as a brilliant pianist. She then began a series of concerts, during which she was warmly welcomed and applauded. She did not dwell on the praises received, but accepted them with simplicity. Exteriorly, nothing set her apart from her companions, but interiorly, from her childhood, she was in continual communication with the Lord. When she was 15 years old, with a group of her schoolmates, she visited for the first time the Religious of Jesus and Mary in Sillery. She had already experienced a desire for religious life, or drawn towards religious life. The time had come for a decision, but in which congregation? One day she heard within her the Lord telling her, "I want you at Jesus and Mary." Dina would become a Religious of Jesus and Mary, a congregation founded by Claudine Thévenet in 1880. She entered the novitiate of Sillery on August the 11th, 1921, at the age of 24. She made her first profession on August 15th, 1923. That day she told Jesus,
"I want to be a saint, and with your grace, I will become one."
She gave herself completely to this task, letting the Holy Spirit work in her, and by simply living the present moment as best she could, she arrived at the summit. Her superiors sent her to the convent of Saint Michel, where she taught music. She had been there only 5 weeks when she contracted scarlet fever after taking care of a student who was ill. Her convalescence was long, and the doctor discovered signs of tuberculosis. She was sent back to Sillery, where her activities were limited by recurring stays at the infirmary. The aim of the Congregation of the Religious of Jesus and Mary is to make Jesus and Mary known and loved through Christian education. Dina identified completely with this aim. Her poor health did not permit her to have an apostolic activity with the students, but she replaced this with unceasing prayer, and she offered her suffering for all. Jesus continued to grant her exceptional graces, to which she responded with exemplary love and faithfulness. During her short life, she lived up to her motto with fervour: love and let Jesus and Mary have their way. The Blessed Virgin and the Eucharist were her guides on her path towards God. Her whole life was a faithful response to grace, which demanded continual self-control. She was always joyful. She experienced the deep joy which comes from the desire to live each moment in union with God's will. She put everything into the Lord's hands and let Him guide her life. Dina died after a long illness on September 4th, 1929 at 3 in the afternoon. She was 32 years of age and had been a sister for 8 years. Which her superiors had asked her to write, we know all that God did in her and communicated to her. On March 20th, 1993, Pope John Paul II declared Dina blessed. What were the hallmarks of her journey? To be faithful. Faithful to God and to the Church. Faithful to the spirit of her congregation. Faithful to the personal mission that the Lord had confided to her. She let the Lord be master of her life. To love. She understood that God is love, and she wanted to respond to this love. Never did she deliberately refuse anything to God. To welcome. Jesus taught her to welcome everything with a smile, in success and in failure, in health and in sickness, in physical or moral suffering. In our technical world, where efficiency has substituted values of interiority, Dina teaches us that real efficiency is to be found in God's action within us and through us. Her life is an uninterrupted act of thanksgiving, of praise to the continual action of God in the present moment. With her, we can say, praised forever be Jesus and Mary.